gaming world, titles are represented by two separate, yet equally important traits. The gameplay, which can range from amazing to jank, and the box art, a stylized preview of the game yet to be played, but looks can be deceiving. These are the box art deceptions.
A first-person, action-packed treasure hunting adventure? Sounds amazing! What's not to love about a game that encourages exploration? Well, a whole lot, actually. Oh, and don't forget to like and sub for more OK Gaming. Deadfall Adventures was released in 2013 on Xbox 360, PC, and Linux. Then on PS3 in 2014, under the title Deadfall Adventures: Heart of Atlantis. It was developed by The Farm 51 and published by Nordic Games, earning a 53 on PC, a 46 on PS3, and a 43 on 360. An obvious comparison was made between this and Indiana Jones, with reviews saying it was an interesting adventure, and the inclusion of first-person shooting was a great idea. On the other hand, this game made a lot of people unhappy. Critics said there weren't a lot of positives. The game wasn't worth your time. And possibly my favourite comment, the only temples the reviewer cared for were the ones throbbing away in his head. The game is based in the universe of Alan Quatermain, created by H. Rider Haggard, a Victorian English author, whose most famous work was King Solomon's Mines, and was considered the first of the Lost World genre. So, with all that said, let's see what they promised us on the box. We're immediately given a dramatic scene of two characters fighting off a horde of what seemed to be the undead. On the left, we have James Lee Quatermain, Alan Quatermain's great-grandson, firing his gun at a screaming enemy. And on the right, we have Jennifer Goodwin, holding a stone tablet of some kind, looking a little worried. Both of them seem to be a little shocked, if I'm honest. They seem to have walked through a hole in the wall, either that they made or just stumbled across. The undead around the edges have different traits to make us think they're from different points in history. Bandage-wrapped bodies, one wearing a skull with feathers and beads as though from a tribe, and one wearing a helmet and armour in the style of the Spanish explorers. Flipping over to the back, we're given screenshots of different scenes we can expect to visit during our adventures. Below, we have James in a full-on action hero pose, running through a temple and looking determined. There's quite a lot of blurb here, the first chunk detailing the backstory. You are James Lee Quatermain, descendant of the legendary adventurer Alan Quatermain. Reluctantly, Quatermain agrees to help the US government and find a powerful artifact before the Nazis or the Russians do. Its pieces are hidden in ancient temples across the globe, protected by deadly traps and raging mummies. Ready your guns, because the hunt is on. The next block of text has bullet points of things that are considered important to lure players in. Fancy locations to explore different ruins, the fact that this game is inspired by an author that not many modern gamers may have heard of, puzzles to solve, adventuring equipment to use, and a load of single and multiplayer ways to play. Feel drawn in? Feel like you're about to embark on the greatest treasure hunting adventure ever known to man? We begin with a cutscene that wouldn't look out of place in an Indiana Jones movie, with a moody, slightly irked narrator. I was also thrown off by the lack of space between words or sentences. Like, take a breath, dude.
I can but say in excuse of it that I am more accustomed to handle a rifle than a pen. I am no stranger to exaggeration, yet however unlikely the tale I'm about to tell might seem to you, it is how I remember it. For I've learned the hard way that all things live forever. Oh, at times,
We then get a cutscene where we're introduced to Jennifer and a professor, whose names are not mentioned at any point, and I had to Google.
We sure picked a lovely day to meet your ex-colleague.
Their driver steals a bag that Jennifer cleverly decides to put down and turn her back on.
Hey, stop!
Then he's stopped by a falling hook. That definitely would have killed him. Oh look! It's James! You can stop zooming in now. Stop. Stop! You're gonna hit him in the face! The combat is standard, with James dual-wielding certain weapons with infinite ammo. I find a map, but only because I'm being nosy. And the game tells us that the main focus is exploring every area and finding treasures. The maps are pretty simple, so we just have to use our powers of map reading and understanding internal landmarks to be successful. This is all well and good within smaller rooms, but when I got a bigger map, I didn't recognize anything and couldn't line up where I was or where I had to navigate to. The compass doesn't always help either. Is it pointing to treasure or just where I'm supposed to go? The prospect of finding treasures everywhere and being rewarded for being nosy was right up my street, so I thought I was onto a winner here. But the treasures weren't as obvious as I'd hoped, with some being hidden within breakables. But not everything is breakable. The treasures we collect go towards upgrading James or his equipment, but only certain treasures can be used for certain upgrades. And we can only upgrade when we find a glowing statue. Apparently Nazis are involved, and we have a double agent who knows how to get the artifact we need. Upon opening the door, there's a blinding light, and James and Jennifer are knocked out.
Yes! Oh
When they wake up, there's a whole load of Nazis crowded round them.
Ah, the Yankee is awake.
Good morning, Mr. Quatermain. Always a pleasure to meet a man of such august extraction, even under these unfortunate circumstances. And Fräulein Goodwin, many thanks for opening the gate for us. You have been most helpful.
no! How do you know our names?
And thank you for confirming them. Again, most helpful.
Oh, good one.
There's a random distraction, and instead of disarming the guy, James pushes him aside and runs. Man, if I was Jennifer, I would be pissed. We have a torch and can use it alongside a handgun, or just have a light when we're using a two-handed weapon. We can also pick up different weapons that enemies drop, or that are just lying around waiting. I like the variety in the weapons, but I wish they made them easier to identify for non-weapon buffs like me, who don't know what all these letters and numbers mean. Just say shotgun if it's a shotgun. Just say auto pistol if it's an auto pistol. Turns out the Nazis aren't the only enemies around, and we meet our first group of undead. Apparently they're not affected by bullets, and we have to shine our torch at them really brightly in order to make them vulnerable to shots. That mechanic sounds familiar. Were the dev team big fans of Alan Wake? Once we're done with Egypt, we meet up with the professor again, and plan a trip to the Arctic. After a dramatic emergency landing, we have to work through a Nazi camp to meet up with our double agent. I think the voiceover was timed a little wrong, because I didn't know what James was talking about until I'd already walked too far.
Let's see if I can disarm this baby.
The puzzles aren't too hard. You can even adjust the difficulty in the settings. but I thought with a notebook that held all the solutions, it wouldn't be too, well, puzzling. The downside to this is every drawing is subject to interpretation. What one person might see as obvious may look like a foreign language to another.
Who'd have to shoot to stop that thing?
Like, what do you think of this solution? After I managed to get the page in the light, move forward from the first column or move right? Or is it diagonal? Okay, so at least start on the square with the column, yeah? No. What about this square? No. This one? No. After seeing the loading screen a dozen times, I decided my sanity was more important than solving this puzzle. As with most of the games I've never heard of that make their way into my collection, I didn't know much about Deadfall adventures, so to be thrown into first person was a shock. But I had a good feeling, as most games like this are third person. The areas are well designed and have that eerie feel you think being in a 1,000-year-old tomb would give you. The enemies are easy enough to defeat, whether undead or alive, and the areas do feel easy to explore. But when your upgrades are being held hostage behind finding treasures, it begins to feel a little grindy, or you're being punished for not looking hard enough. Some puzzles even had stupid starts, like this one. I had to look on the edge of a sarcophagus for a beetle icon. It's not obvious, it's not highlighted, it's just there if you see it. There's nothing smart about it, you just have to run around the same room looking at everything until you get a prompt. If you want to try a game that sits very close to Indiana Jones, with some fairly solid combat, and you have the patience to search every corner of every room, then Deadfall Adventures is for you. If you value puzzles that actually make you think and have clever solutions, maybe go explore elsewhere.
You think that's a good idea?
Relax. I've done this before. There's plenty of...
This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like down below.